Let's do it. Okay, we are recording. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Frank Zambrano. I'm the current president of Dragon Rolls Drumline, and welcome to another edition of the Percussion Studio Alumni Talks, put on by Dragon Rolls and Mike, Music Industry Club. And this week we have Haley Tuohy from Sennheiser and Neumann, right?
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
Hi, everybody.
Alrighty. So, if anybody has any questions throughout the entire thing, put them in the chat and we will get to them. And yeah, so Haley, how's it going? How you doing? What's up?
I am just doing my very best. It's been a year almost of a totally different life since the pandemic has happened, but I think all things considered, I'm doing pretty well. How are
That's
you doing,
good.
Frank?
No one has asked me that yet, and I thank you. At least somebody
I'm
cares.
curious. Yeah, I want to know how you're doing.
I'm doing good.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I can't complain. Just getting through this last semester. Graduating in a month and a half. Senioritis is real. It's hitting me.
Yes.
But
Yep.
yeah, no, it's going good so far. So
Awesome.
so yeah, so here I'm gonna get right into it. We have
Let's do it.
some questions for you.
Yep.
Um, so first off, I want to know about like you, like who is Haley Tui?
That is a really big question. So I'm going to just try to think like in the best way of how to explain the craziness that is myself. Um, I am so right now what I do at Sennheiser, but I'll talk also about like who I am as an actual person.
Yep.
Uh, I am a national key account manager at Sennheiser and Neumann. That's what I do for work. Music is very much a big part of my life, and it has always been a big part of my life. I've never been an amazing performer, so to speak, but it's absolutely been, just critical to who I am. I like to travel. Prior to the pandemic, obviously now I don't. I like to scuba dive. I started scuba diving recently. Um, I care about human rights. I care about that stuff. Yeah, and there's a lot of things about me, but I'm not really sure where to like start. Should I talk about my career? Should I talk about my
So
interest?
let's talk first about, your time at Oneonta. So, all right, so you were a music industry major, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when did you graduate Oneonta? I forget, 2016?
So I graduated a semester early, so it was in
Oh,
fall of 2016.
okay, cool. Awesome. So what kind of stuff were you a part of? What clubs did you do? What classes did you take? Like anything that like, really stuck with you? Classes, professors, stuff like that.
100%. Just as my answer was as chaotic and as it was before, I did a lot of different things in college, like a ton of different stuff. And I never really mastered anything that I did, but I was trying to take as many courses as possible and do
Hmm.
as many activities as possible on the side. And so here's like a basic lay of the land as to what I did. I was a music industry major. I had a minor in audio production, which I completed. I started an event planning minor, but because I graduated early, I was not able to complete that. So I just kind of did something different. Sometimes I did drumline, not every semester, but sometimes I did drumline. I always did percussion ensemble with Julie. I took drum set lessons with Blake. Sometimes I took percussion lessons with Julie. Sometimes. I was in the music industry club. Sometimes I was on the e-board. Sometimes I wasn't. I was part of a club. I'm not sure if it exists anymore, but it was called the Fabulous Oneana Feminists. I did something with Julie called the Global Movement Festival. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but that was really cool. We promoted different cultures at Oneonta. Um, and is there anything else I'm missing? I just dabbled in some. Oh, I studied abroad. I studied abroad in Italy, which I would highly recommend. Uh, so I did a lot of different things, and you know what? I have no regrets about that. And I would actually encourage that people do that. Is just try different stuff. You might not like what you're doing, but you don't have to actually commit to anything other than more than a semester. And the professors that really resonated with me would be Julie, obviously, and I'm not just saying that. Blake, um, Pinato, Pinato definitely did a lot. There was a ton of others, but I dabbled in a lot of different stuff in college, and I did not become really, really good at anything. I was just there to figure out what the heck do I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, yeah, that's that's what we that's pretty much what we're all here. We're still figuring that out, what we want to do.
Yeah.
But you lived my dream going to Italy. Oh my gosh, I still want to go so bad. I have so much family over there and
Do you?
yeah, lots of family and I've never been. But
You can
yeah,
go. You can
I
go.
I will. I plan on it
Heck
soon
yeah.
enough.
Heck yeah. Yeah, well,
uh
not now. Don't go now. I mean,
no, no,
sorry.
of course
They
not. Of
figured there's a
course not.
pandemic, but
There is a global pandemic going
I
on.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sad. Um so when you came to Oneonta, so you were a music industry major, you had to
Yeah.
do, you had to do an internship, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what was your internship when you were here?
Okay. So I did just as I dabbled in many different clubs and different minors, I did a very interesting internship. Um and I'll be honest with you, the internship didn't lead me to where I am today, but it led me in a direction of maybe something I actually didn't necessarily want to do. I was actually touring with it was very, very interesting. I was touring with these small bands across the country that were actually going to camps over the summer and touring at camps. It was super, super interesting. And I did it over the summer. And then I did another internship um, where it was like a virtual internship. I did that like before. It was cool. It was a virtual internship and it was with a music publishing company. So I did two separate internships. I would say the things that were most pivotal for me were actually the part-time jobs that I got right after college. That's where I kind of started to figure out like the direction I wanted to take. But the internships were still really cool because they kind of helped me figure out like, maybe I don't want to go into this field. And I think all the stuff that you don't love doing is exactly what you need to do to get to the right place of where you need to be. So yeah, I hope that answers your question about internships.
Yeah, no, that does. And honestly, I kind of live by that motto, you're never going to know you like something until you try it, you
Yes.
know? So, like, you have to try everything, really,
Yep. Yes.
Um, so now real quick, so you were on Drumline, for
Yes.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
so so can you talk about like your experience with that a little bit? Just because we're so with COVID going on, we don't have, we can't really do anything with Drumline. So this is why we're doing this. We're doing this to bring awareness to the club and all that. So if you could talk about your time with Drumline for a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, so Drumline was one of the first things that I did at college where I started to find a group of people, that had common interest to myself. Uh, it was what drumline is actually, um, I believe drumline is actually what led me to start doing percussion ensemble. Yes, that's exactly what it was. So drumline, and I'm sorry, my age is showing. I don't remember. I'm trying to like think of the direction I took. So yeah, I did drumline. I started to realize like there's some really cool people here, and I do want to continue playing the drums, even though in my own head I had imposter syndrome, and I'm like I suck. Um, I met a group of people that were super open to me and accepted me and all of my funkiness with open arms. And then I actually heard of this mysterious Julie who was on sabbatical at the time. And then I signed up for percussion ensemble that next semester. And then I signed up to do drum set lessons with Blake. So for me, it kind of opened the door of like still practice and play. Even for me, if as someone who realized I wasn't necessarily going to pursue that as a career, to just be totally blunt, but it gave me that connection to people that I was really looking for, and it was absolutely a formative experience for me, I have to say. And I have a lot of empathy for you guys right now. That must be so so difficult. I'm sure practicing in your room is not like what your roommates want you to do. So I'm not really even sure how you would do that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
your
I
roommates are
mean,
probably not happy with you guys.
Yeah, my roommates, I try to do it when they're not in the room, but I'll go to the
Right.
practice room on campus if I got to do
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
heavier stuff. But that's one of the big things with Drumline, and I'm gonna say this, for everybody that's watching, like Drumline is really like a family. Like we really have that aspect, and like we're all very welcoming. You don't have to have any music experience really. You don't need to have any drum experience at all, and you can come on in and they'll teach you what you need to know. So that's one of the things I really loved about Drumline. It was just so welcoming.
That's a really good point, and now that I think about it, it's like something that made me feel good is, and I think he'll be on the call next week, maybe he was on the call before, but there was, someone named Dan,
Yep,
who
he
was
was last week.
really. Yes, and he was so good at the drums, and I just remember being like, I don't know, do I belong?" I have this imposter syndrome, I feel like I'm not that good, but everyone was just so welcoming to me, and, uh I was kind of in my own world sometimes, in college. I was just trying to figure it all out. But um, that's a really good point. It was extremely like there was no judgment to what your playing level was, and we practiced together, and there was equality amongst like there was not like they're really good and they're really bad. It was actually a really cool vibe in that way. So that's a really good point.
Exactly. So let's talk about your journey to where you are now. So graduation 2016. Now you're working for Sennheiser and Neumann. How did it happen?
Yeah, no, it's been a twisty, turny path, I have to say. Um, so what I first did out of college, and just remember, guys, unsolicited advice is you are the most employable when you are employed. So that first step is really hard. So you might have to take a job where it's not just like with maybe an internship, but maybe not. Maybe you'll get lucky with the internship, but like you might have to take something where you're not really sure if that's it, but you want to experiment and figure it out. My first job out of college wasn't necessarily for me. But with that job, I was able to make connections. And it's like the corniest expression, but it is so true. It's about who you know. And I remember I just like when professor said that, I was like, ugh, of course you're saying that, but it is so true. I made a connection. I started working at two companies at the same time, one called Wave Distribution and one called Empirical Labs. They make boutique analog studio equipment. Um, so I was if you're familiar, if there's any studio people here that with the distressor, I was working with the company that manufactured that, and that's where I kind of found my love for manufacturing and audio. And what I do now is I'm a salesperson for Sennheiser and Neumann. So we'll kind of talk about how I got there, but I kind of learned that while I was working there. I knew I loved audio in college. I we had great professors, Gavin and Andres, and I was super shy. I have to say, like I don't think the professors even knew that I was so invested in the classes at all. I kind of like sat in the corner. Um, but I found my way due to connections at Empirical Labs and Wave Distribution, working two jobs at the same time, just hustling, trying to get work done. I was doing a bunch of different stuff. I was running social media pages. That's a really good in, guys. Like with smaller companies, is a lot of companies don't really know how to manage their social media. I was a PA, I was a production assistant. I was doing demos. I was helping set up for our trade shows for NAM. I was doing YouTube videos. I was doing live videos on Instagram, which I hope are still cool. I'm like getting old now, but I did that for a year, and I actually met someone at Neumann because Sennheiser owns Neumann. And we talked for a while, and she told me of a sales position opening at Sennheiser and Neumann. And I thought to myself, Sennheiser and Neumann, like Neumann, do I want to work there? But then I was like, sales? Like, I'm not a car salesman. Like, absolutely not. That is not for me. But I talked to this person a little bit more, and again, this is really about who you know. She was like, "It's not what you think. Apply for the role and see if you're interested." And I did as I got an interview for this sales role at Sennheiser and Neumann, I realized that the scope of the job is basically to sell product to established customers, um, to travel across the country, and to talk about music and studio equipment all day long. And it hit me in that moment that my version and vision of what a salesperson is was very different than what this job would be as a salesperson. So I started as a sales associate, a very entry level position, wasn't big bucks, nothing like that. It was like, you know what, I'll just get by and do this. And I made my way up through the company. So I've been at Sennheiser and Neumann now for 3.5 years. After 6 months of being into the role of a sales associate, the person who was involved with touring and production uh, at Sennheiser left for a new opportunity, and I stepped up and I'm like, that's my role now. I was 22 and I was super like, I was just like, this is mine, you know? And I had to earn my way into that role. I did not just get it. I did not just get promoted. I was like, I'm going to get this role and I'm going to show you guys that I'm going to be great at this. And basically what I was doing is I started selling Sennheiser product, which by the way, I should have probably have said this, is microphones for anyone who's not familiar, wireless and wired microphones to rental houses that then sell to live artists, touring artists like Ariana Grande, like Lizzo, and also to Broadway because I'm New York based. I'm actually north of the city. I'm in Putnam County, if anyone's familiar. Um, and I kind of earned my way and I was involved with live sound and production and it was the coolest thing. And I got that promotion after showing and proving myself for 6 months and drumming up business, not by knocking on doors and like saying, hey, do you want to buy this? By getting to know customers and showing them our product and demoing and helping them, and becoming technical, which I never thought I would be. Just so you guys know, I'm like still scared to set up equipment sometimes, and then I remind myself I can do this. Um, and then I got offered after a year. There was a national position opening at Sennheiser, and I'm like, this is mine. I got this. And I applied, and I was able to show the metrics of what I would be able to do, and I got it. And then a year later, I was fortunate again, and I applied for a national key account management role right before the pandemic. And I'm fortunate to say that I'm still doing that. I have switched my customer base at Sennheiser many times. I've done the live sound thing, which is really, really cool. I've done AV for any audio people. AV is absolutely a career looking into and investigating. If you're not familiar, we could talk about it a little bit. But that's where I am today. So I hope that that explained it. I hope I didn't just like totally go all over the place, but
No,
that's what brought me here.
that was perfect. That was perfect. And
Awesome.
I'm right below you. I'm in Westchester, so
Right
I got you.
on.
Yeah.
Right on.
So explain to me, you're a national key account manager, right? So
Mhm.
what exactly is that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So uh reality check, live sound, it's kind of not what it once was. And it's not going to be for some time now. So what I do is I have a different customer base. Um, it is in AV, right? So my customers sell to, because I'm a manufacturer, so I don't sell directly to the end customer. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? So I sell to customers who then sell to the end customer. So for example, with Ariana Grande, I wasn't like, "Hey Ariana, do you want to buy a mic?" Like she has a customer that she buys from, who buys from me. Now my customers are major corporations, Fortune 500 companies, universities, for example. Uh, they buy from integrators who buy from me. And I work with the top integrators in the country and the world, um, and sell Sennheiser to them, who then sells to the Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that. So, does that kind of explain that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that explains it perfectly.
Awesome.
So what would you say is probably like, one of the coolest aspects, or else like coolest thing you've done, thanks to your job now?
That's a good question. Um, there's been some cool stuff. It's been fun. It's been a very fulfilling and interesting career, and my customer base has changed a few times in the short time that I've been at Sennheiser and Neumann. So there's been like with the live sound part, there's obvious cool stuff, right? Like just name dropping. Like here's who my customer is. By the way, I've never met any of these people. I'm not really that cool. So um, what I would say is one of the coolest things. Can I do like a corny answer? Is that okay? Or does it
Of
should I be
course.
like stick
Yeah.
to like a
Go
cool
ahead.
answer? Okay, I'm gonna do. Uh, I would say the coolest thing has been realizing that a lot of the barriers, a lot of them, but not all of them, um, that I had always kind of thought that would exist, I have been able to push past, and get where I am today by just being confident, and learning how to learning how to sell myself uh, as a professional. Uh, and I would say that the coolest part has been seeing what I've been able to do, and it's stuff that I never thought I could do. And I hope that that's not too corny of an answer or too weird of an answer, but it's just like, I just have to keep reminding myself, like, I can do this. I'm still trying. I might seem like there's this awesome life or whatever, but I'm still figuring out what I want to be when I grow up, and I'm still figuring out, you know, am I good enough? I'm still dealing with imposter syndrome. So the coolest thing has been realizing that I can do this. Like, I can take on the music industry. Like, I got this. And it's hard, but that's been the coolest thing. So that was my corny answer. So thank
No,
you.
and I think that's really key. Like confidence is a big thing. And I think that goes for like not only for like, industry jobs like that, but also like performance because I know we have a few
Yeah.
performance people in here too. If you're not confident in what you're doing, it's not going to be good. You need to have, the utmost confidence in yourself and in what you're putting out there, and it will come out, as good as you want it to be. So yeah, and Julie said me too to your to your thing. Still trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up.
I think it's something that, like, people should always kind of be questioning in a weird way. Like, even when they're 50, even when they're 60, even when they're 70, like, constantly ask yourself, what do you want to do and what do you want to become?
hmm
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. So what would you say you enjoy like most about your job? Like besides like the cool parts, but like what would you say you enjoy most?
So there's a few things that I really have realized that I like. And these aren't things that I necessarily fully realized in college or ever realized before that. Um, I like the equipment that I'm selling, but outside of gear, which again, I was like scared of gear. Like, I was like, I'm not technical when I was in college, honestly, and I was trying to get past that. But I love traveling. And before the pandemic, with the role that I had, I went to Germany at one point, for work. I was traveling across the country, and then when I wasn't traveling for work on my vacation time, I was traveling. For me, that's really fun. I'm an extrovert, so I love being surrounded by people. I love talking to people. I love all the eccentric, interesting people that are in this industry. I love getting to know them and hearing their stories. Um, I would say, yep, talking about gear, talking to people before the pandemic, and hopefully one day again soon, traveling around the world. Um, I would say that those are the things. I would say those are the biggest things for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So currently, are you working from home, or else do you also go into the office?
So I have been working remotely way before the pandemic because our office at Sennheiser is in Old Lyme, Connecticut. So it's about a 3 hour drive for me. I would go there once a quarter, like once every 3 months, just to say hi to some people. But as a salesperson, I never was working from an office. I was always working on the road, always, always.
Okay.
But when I wasn't on the road, I was just working from my home office, which, by the way, is my bedroom. So yeah, it's just, this little place, and I'm just doing the best I can.
Okay. So would you say that even though you've been working remote for pretty much, a majority of your time there, would you say even though we're in a pandemic that has still taken a toll or else, made some kind of difference in your like, your work life?
Yes, 100% it has. Um, like, I was working from home maybe every other week, sometimes once a month. And then the rest of the time I was on the road. My job is to establish a customer base in some parts, and then it's to develop relationships with my customers. And it's hard to do that virtually. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. A year ago, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, literally, what am I going to do? So yeah, it's just totally, it has been super difficult. In time, I've made adjustments and all that, and I've started to really, there's like a lot of learning that I did about myself this year that was super super important. But um yes, it was a huge adjustment. I think that was the question.
Yeah. Yeah. So one big thing that always gets brought up with like jobs in the music industry is uh our parents don't always, think music is a viable career, a feasible career, I guess. So
Yeah.
how would you say, do you think, not do you think, but like, were your parents very supportive in your, your career endeavors in the music industry? Or, were they a little hesitant at first? And, what are they like now?
This is a really lovely question. I love this question. Um, so, you know, I had one very supportive parent and have one very supportive parent. Um, that definitely respects what I do. And now that I think people are starting to see, like, okay, this is a legit career, um, there's an understanding. I definitely felt like a black sheep in my family. And the reason that I'm saying that is not to be like, poor me, but growing up. But I just want you guys to know if this resonates with anyone, I definitely was different growing up. I definitely didn't fit into any kind of box necessarily. And not that I have this crazy difficult life or anything like that, but there was some stuff and I didn't always have that support. Um I would say the best person that I'm very fortunate that I had is I did always have support from my mom. I did. And that is such a privilege. But I think now if people ever had a question, and I know this is like a flex, but like you guys will feel it too at some point, um, if anyone ever had a question, they don't anymore. So flex, that's my flex. But yeah, if people question you, you know what? You could be like, bye, because you know you got this. Like, don't even worry. But yeah, so if there's any black sheeps out there in the fam, I was definitely there, 100%.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. And
Yeah,
luckily, I have my mom. She's very supportive in, my career endeavors. I'm very, very thankful for that. But I feel the
yes,
same
I
way,
appreciate
I
that.
don't think I was definitely the odd one out with like my cousins and, my friends
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I didn't have the normal career. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So let's go back to the Oneonta side for real
Yeah.
quick. So going in as a freshman and then graduating as a senior, like what was the original goal as a freshman, or did you not even have one? Like what was it compared from freshman year all the way to senior year?
I like this question. It's a really good question because I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. I had a horrible time in high school, not in college. In high school, I had a horrible time. I didn't even know if I wanted to go to college. I felt so lost. Like there was just like nothing I enjoyed other than like listening to music and sometimes hanging out with friends. Um, so when I went to college, I was kind of like, you know, am I even going to do this? Really, like, am I actually going to do this? And I had no idea. And the goal initially was to get through it. And then I started to really enjoy it. And that is the honest truth. Um, I started to drum, right? And take that a little more seriously. Not as a pro, but for me it was a hobby that I took up again that I used to do back in high school. I found a group of people that I felt like were there for me and that I was there for. But did I know what I wanted to do? No, that's why I was in a different club every semester and did something different every semester. That's why I did the e-board for like a minute in mic. That's why I was on the drum line like every other semester. That's why I studied abroad one semester. Like I was all over the place, but it was kind of a cool approach. I'm not gonna lie, because I just started like doing whatever I wanted and I started to learn like, okay, I like this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I don't really like this. I don't really like this. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like. I have my opinions they come very naturally to me. And then, I was kind of able to navigate. But even at the end of college, I didn't really still know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I need to get a job right away because I'm the most employable when I'm employed, and then I'm just gonna figure it out. That's it. So I'm sorry. I hope professors aren't watching this. Like, you're supposed to say like, by the junior year you knew or whatever, but I didn't know. I just knew that I liked college. I was enjoying my classes. I was, some more than others. And I knew that I definitely wanted to get involved in this exciting industry, but I had no idea how. And I didn't from the beginning and I didn't at the end.
And
That's the
that's
honest truth.
fair. That's fair. No, that's
Yeah.
completely fair. So still sticking with the Oneonta side.
Yeah.
I know we have one professor here right now. But was there anything specific that you can remember from like any of your professors at Oneonta that like really stuck with you? Or any like, life lessons maybe that you learned from them, you know, just
Yes.
something along the lines of that.
Yes. 100%. Uh, so this is so the expression "you're the most employable when you are employed." Pinato said that. And I remember that really resonated with me because I was like, all right, I just need to get a job and figure it out. And as I said, my first job, it wasn't my fave job. It really wasn't. You know, no disrespect, it was all good, but I just knew that wasn't the path I wanted to take. The second job I was talking about with Wave Distro and Empirical rocked. And now my current job, it rocks. But eh, that was a strangely profound statement for me. But I will say this, and I'm not just saying this. Julie definitely like had a extreme impact on me. Julie
Yep.
kind of I heard like an unmute yup. I don't know if that was Frank, but like I'm just gonna keep
No, that
going.
wasn't me.
Oh,
That
um,
was us.
Yep.
yes, I know it's so true. Julie, um, and I know Julie's gonna be mad. She's gonna be embarrassed, but like Julie, I have a personality that is a little bit, a little bit sassy sometimes, and I kind of have this interesting way about me. And in college, I was really trying to figure stuff out. Um, and Julie kind of figured some things out about me and made me like work at them. So, for an example, Julie and I did the Global Movement Festival, or Julie did it, and basically I worked with her on it. At the time when I was in college, that was a lot of work for me. And Julie wasn't exactly like, yeah, just do what you can. Like I'll pick up the slack for you. And as a result, I kind of learned the concept of like really working hard, and independence from Julie with the Global Movement Festival. And I also learned that my love and passion for um, uh, culture and intersectionality and discussing things that a lot of people don't care to discuss was valid and interesting and cool, and I could still tie that into music in some way and art in some form or another. And that was absolutely profound. Also, I always, I had so many feelings and different stuff I was going through in college. It wasn't this easy breezy time for me. I am not going to lie. It was great, but there's a lot of self-learning. And and Julie was there. And Julie was there in a way where I learned about myself. It wasn't just like, you got this, you're doing great. It was like, if you want this, you need to work for it, and here's how. And there's going to be uncomfortable moments. And Julie once even said something about like, it's important to make yourself uncomfortable sometimes to learn about yourself. And I remember that as well. And that's always resonated with me, is like those uncomfortable moments are sometimes the things that will make your life profoundly better. And if you just stick to stuff that makes you comfy, there's not as much growth there. And then my last like shout out would be to Blake. Blake was also an absolutely amazing and incredible professor for me, when I was taking drum set lessons. So I could keep going on, but I don't want this to become like a Julie fan session. I know Julie will not be happy with me if I do that. So,
She said, "Preach it, girl."
all right, that's it, guys. 2 hours, Julie time.
Oh man. No, Julie said the exact same thing to me. Oh, we have a member of the Julie fan
Oh
club in the
yeah, yeah.
audience.
Come on,
Yes.
everybody, turn the
Yes.
camera off. Let's go.
um, what's it called? No, she said the same thing to me. You have to go. You have to be uncomfortable at times, and that is completely true. Like I have my senior recital later this month, and I'm doing stuff I am not comfortable with whatsoever, and
Yeah.
she knows that, and she's pushing me, and she's like, "Yeah, you hate this right now, but this is gonna make you a better musician." So
Yep.
yeah, that's a big thing, going outside your comfort zone. You're not gonna get better at this thing until you do it. So
It's 100% true. And it's definitely like when I was 22 and like said, I'm going to get a promotion, that was like the scariest thing that I've ever done. Like literally the scariest thing that I've ever done. Um, I am white, cisgender. There's a ton of privilege that I have. Um, the thing that makes me a little different in my industry is just being a female. So there's a lot of privilege there. But I stuck out. I mean, my colleagues are not in the age range that I am in, and they're male. And that was the scariest thing. And I just thought, like, I have to be uncomfortable to get this. I have to. It's not going to be comfy. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're going through the same thing, Frank. I promise it'll be worth it.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So going back to Sennheiser now, like before you actually, accepted the job with them, and when you were applying, like what was that like? Like what was like your research like? Did you do research on the company just so like you knew what you were getting into? Did you know of them prior? Like what did you look for when you were applying?
So I knew of Sennheiser prior just because of the name, and actually Neumann was something that I really, really knew, like the U67 microphone,
Oh
the
yeah.
U87 microphone. When deciding if I wanted to actually take the role, it was more about the feel of the interview because yeah, I did a lot of look to nail an interview. You really do want to do research and show the company that you've done research. You want to have questions prepared for the company. You don't want to, at the end, when they're like, do you have any questions for me? If you say no, that's really ridiculous. So, yeah, I did all the research. You have to do the research. You have to kind of pick up on the website about like things that are important to the company because you're selling yourself as a candidate. So, yes, I did. The thing that was also important on on the flip side of the coin, the important thing for me was kind of feeling their vibe. Like, do I want to be here? Is this going to be an environment that I feel comfy in? But yeah, you got to research to nail the interview. You really do. You can't just maybe if you're a really established person in the industry and like everybody knows you, maybe you don't have to. But at that point, you'll kind of know what's going on. But yeah, they asked me in the interview. They asked me some questions about microphones and stuff to see if I knew anything. So I felt really good when I did.
No, and that's good. Yeah, I highly suggest that as well. Yeah, researching the company prior to going in, like you said, if they ask you, do you have any more questions? You're like, no, I'm good. That's not good.
No, it's
No,
not good. It's
always
not
ask.
good.
Just ask something. Like they want to know that like you're curious about the company. So
It's absolutely essential. Yeah.
yeah. So I have one more question for you, and then I'm going to open it up to the floor to
Yeah.
everybody else. So what's in the future for you? Like what's like, what do you have planned really, if anything?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. And I'm still figuring that part out. I'm still figuring out what's next. The role that I'm in at Sennheiser right now is challenging and I want to get really, really good at it. So for me, what's next is to just get really good at what I'm doing right now and keep at it. That's the honest truth. Like I've met my match right now and I'm like I got to nail this. Um I want to build this is like a thing that's a little uncomfortable for me, but I want to put myself out there more as Haley. I did like an interview a few weeks ago for a company that's relevant in AV, and I want to kind of start putting myself out there more, and tell myself I am an expert. I got this, and do more interviews and speaking engagements and stuff in our industry. Um, but I would say to answer that question, I want to keep doing my role, get really good at it. I want to put myself out there more as an individual person, and feel and tell myself I'm an expert. I got this, and put myself out there in speaking engagements. And then when the pandemic gets better, whatever that is, I do want to keep traveling, trying to practice Spanish. I got a scuba diving certification last summer. I want to keep at that, and also keep doing the stuff for me that just makes my soul happy that has nothing to do with work because that's really important because I work all the time and I need to also feed my soul. So that's what's next for me right now. We'll see. Ask me in a year, it'll be different. Ask me tomorrow, it'll be different. But yeah, that's what's next.
Yeah, no, taking care of your soul, mental health, all that, that's
Mental health
highly
is
important, just
extremely
as
important.
just as big as your physical health and everything else. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm gonna open it up to the floor. If anybody has a question, feel free to pop your hand up, or else put it in the chat. But yeah, but I do want to say thank you for coming. This is great. I hope you're
Thank
having
you
a
so
I hope
much.
you're having a good time. Answering
Oh, this is
questions.
great. Yeah, no, and please feel guys, ask me anything. I'm an open book. I ramble a lot, but I'm an open book. So thank you, Frank, for asking these great questions.
Of course. Anyone?
I
um,
just answered so many questions.
I
Everyone's
know
like, wow, we
we
know
got one
way
hand
too
up.
much about you.
The trumpets.
Oh, the
Feel free to
trumpet.
unmute.
I think
Yeah,
I
buddy.
recognize
Hey,
him.
Haley.
What's up?
So, what recommendations do you have for the Oneana students who are going to be looking for their first job? What do you recommend for them? What should they do? What should they prepare? What did you do? Kind of thing.
That's a great question. And there's so many answers that are just like going through my head. I have this issue where I have so many thoughts at the same time and I have to like pick out what makes sense. All right, there's two things that come to mind, and one is because you just mentioned it, but like this is important. Mental health is very, very important, especially during a pandemic right now. I mean, we don't know how long this will go on for. Hopefully, when you guys graduate, this will be gone. But take care of yourself. Practice. If you're into meditation, try that. If you're not into it, maybe you should try. Um, you know, eating well, just treating yourself well. It's important just because it's like sometimes there's so much stress going on. I think it's extremely important that you take care of yourself. And then a second thing I think is, and this is like really something that has meant a lot to me, is um, take the bad and take the bad experiences or the tough experiences, because on paper, if you look at my resume, it's like, wow, it's been great, but it hasn't been all great. Take the bad experiences and learn from them, and learn, and do not be discouraged and think this is over. I suck at this. Take the bad energy, bad people, all of that, and make it a learning experience. Um, don't be discouraged. There is always going to be people in the industry that don't have a great presence and don't want you to succeed and are jealous or something like that. But take all of that and make it a learning experience and try to spin it into something positive if you can. What I started doing is, when I started to get discouraged, because I'm very emotional, I'm very sensitive, is I'm like, this is a challenge. This is a challenge that I have to overcome. And I'm going to make this bad experience actually be something that I look back at and I'm like, I'm so glad that happened because that's what got me here. So any like kind of tough moment in my life that's happened, I've been like, this is my challenge and I'm going to grow from this. And it's got me where I am now. So I would just say, like, get ready for some low points and make them your challenge. And I know that's not always easy, but that's been something that really kind of keeps me going. And that's what's got me here now, because there's been some moments where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this, all that. So that's for me has been very big.
They got another question. Go ahead. Feel free,
Oh, a
guys.
follow-up.
What's up?
We love to hear it.
This is Scott. How you doing, Haley?
Hi.
Miss you. How did, I guess in general, how did Oneonta or Drumline or percussion ensemble or the classes you took, how did they help you sort of move outside of your comfort zone? And how did that help you sort of achieve where you've come to? Like, how does moving outside of your comfort zone and those experiences at Oneonta, how has that helped you?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Okay, so how did the experiences that I have when I was out of my comfort zone at Oneonta help me apply that into real life? Is that kind of the question?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right on. Okay. So at Oneonta, I was extremely and so it's funny because some people who knew me wouldn't agree, some people who didn't, but I was extremely shy. Now, I know some drumline people who were with me are like, okay, yeah, freaking right. But outside of drumline, where I wasn't part of that like crew, where I felt really accepted for who I am, I was really shy. I was really, really shy. So what I started to do was, actually, the reason I did a lot of different clubs is because it was extremely uncomfortable. I remember when I ran for e-board in the music industry club. First of all, one time I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get the role that I ran for, and I cried for like 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks. And then one time I did get the role that I applied for or ran for. I'm like forgetting basic terminology. Um, and that was awesome. But just like doing all that different stuff and having to talk to other people, because now I feel like a more confident extrovert. But before, I felt like everything I say is awkward. I'm weird. Like everything I say is like not normal, like whatever. It was basically training for me on the real world. Like, I know sometimes people will be like, college is kind of just a bubble, it's the best 4 years of your life, whatever. For me, one, it wasn't the best 4 years of my life, but it was definitely some of the most significant years of my life. And two, I basically made it like, this is job training. And I know it's like so nerdy. Julie probably likes that, but I was like, this is training. I'm going to just figure out what I like and learn how to talk to people, because I'm scared of people sometimes, even though I like to pretend I'm not. And I had definitely a front in college where I didn't show that. But yeah. So I would say that all of those, like trying new stuff and like especially the studying abroad thing, it was like my training into the real world of when like you kind of have to fake confidence in a way. So yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but I kind of took it as like a training experience. And I was like, I got this. Like, this is real. This is the real world. College is the real world, you know?
I
So
got
that's
a
my ramble.
I got another question for you.
Yeah.
So we know that networking is very important,
Yes.
right? So can you talk about like your perspective on networking? Like, you know,
Definitely.
how has it helped you, and you know, any tips you have for people, you know, in the call right now looking to network and like finding those first steps?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Networking, and I kind of hate to say it because I remember when I was in college, this annoyed me for some reason. I don't know, maybe I was just angsty, but networking was 100% essential. Essential. It's not even like, you know, you can maybe get by without it. Even if you want to be an audio engineer and you just want to be an engineer and you don't want to talk to anyone, you need to network. You need to network, and you can't burn bridges. The industry is not as big as it seems. At least for me in college, I'm like, this is a big industry. Like, it's not that big. And you need to network. You need to put yourself out there. The job that I had, every awesome job that I've had, which was this job, which has been now 3.5 years, and the job before it, and then before it was really just college, honestly, other than just a small other job between it, I got from networking. Every single job. It was not because I went online, saw a job opening, put a resume in, hoped. It was because I saw an opening and was like, I'm going to find someone at this company and they're going to like me. Darn it. You know, and it's just so, so important. And again, I know it's like so annoying. And especially I have some like, I have social anxiety. Like that stuff doesn't come naturally. I don't feel really confident standing at some like networking event, just standing there. I actually feel really weird sometimes, but it is super important, I have to say. And I will say this too, and I know it's like, oh, so you guys, some of you might be like, oh my gosh. Some of the close friends that I made, I didn't have not all of my friends were in the music industry major or the music or in a music major, but some of my friends that I made at Oneonta are in the industry now. And you know, different parts of the industry, some in the audio industry, which I'm in, and those relationships definitely have gone a long way for me. Not that all relationships are transactional, but yes, networking, sorry guys, it is really as important as they say. In fact, it's crucial, and it will be hard to get a job without one.
We got another question from my man Dan Taylor. Go ahead, bud.
Hi, Dan.
Hello, hi. Nice to meet you. Your story is really interesting and encouraging.
Thank
And
you.
I kind of just have like a fun question. I don't know if you
Yeah.
maybe indirectly answer this, but as it
Sorry.
pertains to audio sales, what would be like your dream position in like the industry if you have one, or today, what would be your dream position?
I love this question, Dan. That is like such a lovely question. So here's kind of like my dream, my dream. Now, and this isn't like the 2-year plan, guys. This is like way in the future. I want to be on the executive board of a company. I want to one day be a sales director. I love to motivate people. I love right now the product that I sell. I love it. So you know, my dream position is to work my way up through a company, and for a company that I love to work at. So I love this question, and you know, as I said, sometimes my goals and plans change, but you know, I work for an international company, and I think that's really cool too. So right now for me, it's mastering what I'm doing, or getting really good at what I'm doing, I should say. But in the future, to you know, make my way up and be a director, and maybe even be an international sales director one day. Um, I just I honestly think like there's one thing I never thought I would do in college, and it was sales. I seriously had this envision of like, "Bleh." But it's like it is so industry related. Like I go to studios, before all of this. I go to music studios. When I was doing live sound and production, I was going to, you know, backstage and all that, and just you know, it was work. But yeah, I just think sales is really cool, and I think I'm here to stay. You know, great question, Dan. Thanks for asking that.
That's awesome. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to put your hands up now or write it in the chat, or forever hold your peace.
You can never email me. No, I'm just kidding. I'll put all that up out there.
The other thing I was going to ask, actually, since you said email, is it okay if these if they have your email, if they have any questions for you?
Yes.
I don't know if you want to drop it in the chat or
I'm gonna drop the link. Oh wait, I have it. Let me just do it now. Yeah, I'm totally. You guys can email me anytime. I want to get to know you. I want to talk to you. As I said, I am an extrovert. I'm overcoming, still trying to deal with all the social difficulties of life. But yes, reach out to me anytime. And even if you're like not interested in sales, but maybe engineering, do you have any advice for me? I'm working hard to be well connected in the industry, and I'm happy to help in whatever way that I can. 100%.
awesome.
I'm gonna write my email now before I forget, so I don't seem like I'm just making that up.
But if nobody has any other questions, then Haley, thank you so much. This was amazing. I hope everybody learned, something. I surely did. This was awesome. I'm gonna ask you to stay on after everybody leaves.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope to hear from you guys.
Thank you.
Email me anytime.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, let me stop recording.